Aloha and welcome to this practice WOD, which is the second part 2 of Dynamic Web Apps, so Dynamic 2-1. It's called Digits Text Template. Um, Fortunately, the WOD is easier to do than it is to pronounce. And before you start this WOD, I want to really emphasize that you should play around with play example form, okay, and watch the screencast and then go through this checklist of things and try to trace through the code and understand, the way that all of the various Scala templates, because there's quite a few of them now, interact together to produce the HTML. And as you start to, you're just going to have an epiphany at one point. It's all going to come together. You realize, boy, this is like super simple, and then your life with play will become way easier, because if you can write these Scala templates easily, then it's more fun to program, and your code looks better, and it's easier to debug and everything. And so start by looking at that, and then of course this WOD is going to give you some practice actually doing that. So I think whatever mysteries that you couldn't kind of resolve by just looking at that code are going to be resolved once you've gone through these exercises. Okay, so what the heck do we have to do here? What we're going to do to begin with is we're going to take this crufty looking code here, all these divs and all this kind of repeated stuff, and we're going to clean it up by using one of the Scala templates in play example form. So we start by creating a new branch off the latest Digits application from the last module. Name this new branch DigitsTextTemplate 1. Okay, so there's my last one, and I'm going to say plus, and I'm supposed to call this digits, no more of this silly like 22222 thing. DigitsTextTemplate -1. So I'm going to create this branch, and then just to make sure everything's all good, I'm going to say :clean compile :run. And then over here, I'm going to look and so the Eclipse understands where we're at. And then just finally, to make sure that we're all good. All right, looks fine. Okay, so we are ready. So we're going to start the timer. Where's the timer? There's the timer. Start. Okay, enable check style. Always a good thing to do. What would life be like if we didn't have check style? I'm not sure. Check for errors, no errors. Okay, create a revised version in which we're going to use the @text Scala template from the play example form system. Specifically, create a views.bootstrap3 package. Okay, so we'll say new package, views.bootstrap3. And since this is Scala, we're not going to create that package info. Well, maybe we will. We don't really need to because it's Scala templates, but it might come in handy to have it. So, I guess in retrospect, I'm actually going to keep it in there. And then copy the text.scala file into this package. Okay, so what we can do is we can find. Notice I've got play example form in Eclipse, which of course, hopefully, you've all done. And then I can just say save as, and then I can go to Digits, App, Views, Bootstrap 3, say OK, and there it is. Okay, so I've got my text.scala file in my Digits thing, my Digits application. And then I'm going to edit my new context scala.html file to import this package. Okay, so to do that, I've got to say @import bootstrap 3, like that. That's just the Scala. It's remember the underscore is it's Scala for a wildcard. Why they don't use stars like Java is a question that you'll have to ask someone who actually knows Scala, but they don't. But that's basically what that is the equivalent of. And then we're going to replace these nested divs. Okay, so here's one of them. By the text template. Okay, now the way I would recommend doing this is actually using an example. So if we go to the field set, okay, this is where I actually find an @text call. So let's just take this @text call and let's go back to new contact and let's stick this sucker in right before one of our divs that we want to mess around with, and then just see what we have to do. Okay, and basically what we have to do is instead of passing student form name, we're going to pass contact form first name. That's the field. That's the specification of the field that's going to be modified. So we'll say contact form first name, and then the label, okay, that we're replacing is first, and the placeholder that we're replacing is first name. You see, we're replacing actually, this code by an invocation of a template, which is going to expand to this code. Okay, and then the help is, we don't have any help. We probably should have help, but since we don't have any, we'll just replace that by the empty string. Okay, so having done that, what we now do is we get rid of that div. And just note, look at, we've gone from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines of code, okay, that we're about to delete, and we're replacing it by 4 lines of code. We could probably all fit this on one line, actually, and replace 11 lines of code by 1 line of code, but let's add some new lines just for readability's sake. Okay, so that's pretty great. So we'll save this out, and then let's check, just to make sure that that first field, that this all compiles and everything works okay. So it compiles, we go to new contact, it looks just like it did before, so that's a really good sign. And I'll add a contact, and then we go here. Okay, so everything's awesome. All right, so now that we have that, okay, so we've got our first one. Now the rest of it's going to be super easy, because we can just say that's going to be for last name, and that's going to be for telephone. So we'll replace first name by last name, last name, and then the final field is telephone. And just for grins, when I was looking at this, I thought that's, it's kind of a silly placeholder to say telephone, right? What we really should be saying is XXX, XXX, XXXX. That would be a good one. That would be an informative placeholder, right? Okay, so I'm just going to do it, even though this is, a little bit, not exactly replacing, but I think it's improving the code, to be frank. Okay, now look at that. That's starting to look like some nice code where it's really pretty obvious. We've got this, excellent symmetry between, we can tell exactly what's changed between these 3 invocations. And then what we've done is we've refactored out all of the shared code into this template. That's, that's the way you want to program, right? Okay, so let's save this out. And let's go back to localhost. We're recompiling. Everything looks good. Go to new contact. And you can see now we've got our new placeholder stuff down there. So that just, provides further evidence that we've actually changed things. So I'll put one of those like that. Just press add. Go to home. Go to home. Sometimes I don't know why that was. And go back. Okay? And I think I went to home before it finished processing the request. Now the other thing is to view the page source, okay, which is kind of good to do. And you can see here is the expansion of our templates, and it looks really nice. So we've got these 2 help blocks that actually don't have any text in, so you don't really see them. We've got this hidden input field, which you don't really see. And, looks great. So let's go back to this. We've submitted correct, let's just check an incorrect form. So let's get rid of this. Okay, so that's still working correctly. And commit the working code to the branch. So we'll say replaced replace divs by text Scala template. And we've basically got those 3 files. That looks good. And we're done. 7 minutes, 45 seconds. We'll call it 8 minutes. That's pretty generous. But 8 minutes RX.